Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Lucas M. Thomas, also known as LT Copywriting or your right-hand man in real estate. Today we're going to go about what you're doing wrong. More specifically, we're going to discover how you discover what you're doing wrong in your daily life, your weekly life, your monthly life, as well as your yearly life. And what we call that is a life audit. Today we're going to talk about, and I'm going to teach you how to conduct a life audit upon yourself to find out what you're doing, what you're doing that is helping you be successful, and identifying what you're doing wrong or what is causing you to, be unsuccessful, or more importantly, is leading you down the trail of a whirlwind or a torrent of self-destruction and pity, and how you can avoid that whirlwind or torrent or whirlpool of self-destruction and pity, and stay on the bright side of happiness and unicorns, and making the money that you want, finding the people, or having the life you want to live, and accomplishing your goals. Now let's get started. Now, what does a life audit look like? Well, a life audit is actually made up of tiny little action audits. And once you have, the 7 to 10 action audits, you put them together and that becomes your life audit. Now, what are these tiny little action audits and what do they look like on paper? Let's go over that right now. So, this is an action audit. An action audit is something that you take a look at all the things that you do every day, every week, every month, and you're essentially writing it out. You're outlining it. You're writing down the pros and cons of that action, and then you're going to write up the improves of should I even continue? The improve section is more or less, it's either this is good for me, how do I improve it, or if it's bad for me, how do I improve it, or do I have to eliminate it completely? So, one, you're going to start off with a 1. You can use any symbols you want. I like to do my outlines this way, but you can use any symbols. I've seen some people use hearts and unicorns and arrows and all sorts of cool stuff. Way too pretty for me. So what you're going to do is you're going to put the name of the action next to this 1. So each individual action audit, so this is action number 1, this is action number 2, this is action number 3, and you're going to put the action, put the action, put the action. So each one of these actions is going to be one action audit, and underneath each one of these action audits, you're going to have a pro and a con. And in the pros section, you're going to talk about how this action is helping you become successful, and in the cons you're going to say how this is a waste of time, how it's not helping you, it's not effectively helping you try to accomplish your goals. And the whole point of this is you're going to take the action, see how it's improving, or how it's improving your life, or it's how it's helping you accomplish your goals, or taking you where you want to be. And the cons is going to say, hey, this is the negative things that are happening because of this action. If it takes a lot of time to do it, is it worth taking all the time out of your busy day and not focusing on this? It could be focused somewhere else, and that's where you're going to put the improves on the bottom. Well, first off, let me get rid of the other action audits real quick. And you have the pros and cons, and you can have more than one pros and cons. Personally, I like to use minus signs for this, so we'll have pro 1 here. We'll have pro 2, and then we'll have pro 3, and then here you would have con 1, con 2, and then con 3. And then once you're done doing all the pros and cons of that action, you're going to come down here to the improve. The improve section, and in the improve section you're going to say if this action is beneficial. In the improve section you're going to decide whether or not this action is beneficial to what you're trying to accomplish. If it's not beneficial, you're actually going to eliminate this action from your life. If the action is beneficial, you're going to figure out how to make it better. So if that way, if there's a bunch of cons, it's like, how do you eliminate those cons? So if, let's say, you do something is, waste a lot of time, how do you make this easier and more simple to do so you don't have to waste as much time on that one action? So the pros are, maximized, and the cons are minimized. In pros, that's where you either find out you either have to eliminate the action because it's not helpful to you at all, or you've decided how do you improve the pros and you eliminate the cons to, make that action that much more successful to create success for you. Now, and pretty much this is an action audit, and you do 5, 6, 7, or 8 of these little action audits, and that together is your life audit. Now let's go over a few examples. All right, so here's example number 1. We're going to go with, a negative one first, because everybody loves negative stuff. So the action is going to be watching TV, or more specifically, Netflix. And I have nothing against people who binge watch Netflix, except for it is a time waster and it will sap the life out of you. It amazes me how many times I've heard from people, it's like, well, what'd you do all weekend? Well, I watched Netflix. I watched every episode of Law and Order. Every episode of Law and Order. I'm like, well, that's like 5 seasons. It's like, well, I played all 3 of the seasons on 3 different televisions all at the same time. I was trying to like osmosis, or I was trying to become a Law and Order person, by binge watching all 3 of the seasons, all 3 seasons at the same time on 3 different televisions, and you're just like, oh, that's a great way to spend a weekend, right? Yeah. So. Number 1, this is an action audit, watching TV/Netflix. Now let's go over the pros of watching TV and Netflix. So the pros of watching Netflix or watching TV is entertainment. So you get to find entertainment, you get to relax, entertainment, relax. And so you get entertainment, you get time to relax, and you might learn something. And might learn something is a big if. I don't know if you can learn anything by binge watching soap operas, but if you do, let me know. And I'm glad you're gonna take the 12 hours out of your day to binge watch those soap operas to find out that one tidbit of useful information for me. That is awesome. Thank you for your service. So entertainment helps you relax, and you might learn something. But here's the cons of binge watching television or Netflix. Okay, so 1, it wastes time. This is going to waste a lot of time. So when someone binge watches, Netflix or TV, a lot of people, they're like, well, I only watch it once or twice or 3 times a week. But if you watch it 3 hours a week, that's 9 hours. So waste time. So if you watch television 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, that's 10 hours. That's 10 hours where you could have been doing something, effective or helping you accomplish your goals. It could have been networking events. It could have been, making sales calls. It could have been, doing anything constructive to help you accomplish your goals. So really and the thing you'll find with a lot of these action audits is wasting time is actually one of the number 1 cons of anything you do. Because, too many times people don't measure what they're trying to accomplish. So what happens is, because you're not measuring what you're trying to accomplish, you don't realize that you're wasting so much time because you don't even realize you're wasting so much time because you don't have any reference point to, to look towards. So if you're watching TV 10 hours a week, you're like, well, that doesn't mean anything. But if you could see how effectively, if you were using that time for something better, you could see, oh, well, I spent these 10 hours, making $10,000 this week, or I use those 10 hours to make $1 million, or I use that $10, to sell something on Craigslist, or to sell something on eBay, or something help me in my business or something, you know what I mean? So, pros is entertainments help you relax, and you might learn something, but the cons, it wastes a whole lot of time. And 2, it's going to have a lot of not useful information. So most of the information you're going to get from binge watching, Law and Order, or, any sorts of television show, Orange is the New Black, all that stuff, you're not going to get any useful information from that. You might learn something about the prison system, I guess, but you can also just as easily learn about the prison system by watching a documentary. You never know. And then on top of this, it's not constructive to what you're trying to accomplish. So if you have itemized goals and you know what you're going to accomplish this week, you're going to accomplish this month, or accomplish this year, then you can already tell if you have these goals, if you're wasting 10 hours a week to do something that's not constructive to what you're trying to accomplish, you can already tell. It's like, well, where do I eliminate the hours to do the constructive work? And you can already see, like, oh, well, I waste 10 hours a week doing this, and I could be spending that time trying to accomplish my goals, hit my sales target, get that promotion I've always wanted, build my business, everything else. And next up is going to be the improves. So in the approves, I personally would tell you to eliminate this. But like anything that you try to quit cold turkey, it doesn't work very well. You can't ever quit anything cold turkey because you go through a withdrawal and you're like, oh God, I need my Orange is the New Black. Oh my God, there's a new episode of South Park. You'll have you go through withdrawal system, and you go withdrawal, and instead of just doing the 10 hours a week, you spend the next 40 hours watching every episode of South Park that you could ever imagine. So not that I say you should eliminate it completely, but if for most people, they can't do that. So, watch 1 hour less, each day. Okay, great. So the way to improve this is you would either eliminate it completely if you have that ability. What I would do is eliminate it completely, sell your television, or cancel your Netflix account, or cancel whatever allows you to, have channels. And a great way to do that is once you only have 5 public channels, it's really easy not to watch TV when you only got 5 public channels. It's usually one religious channel, ABC, NBC, CBS, and usually like the public access channel, or public broadcasting. So, that's how you can eliminate it quickly. But if you can't do that because you're so addicted to television or something, then you need to watch 1 hour less each day. So instead of we said that you were watching 2 hours a day every day for 5 days, you can now watch 1 hour less each day, and this will become 5 hours a week. And then, the next week you eliminate it another 30 minutes, another hour, and that way you'll either eliminate your addiction to television, or if you're one of those people that says, oh, well, this is good for me, this is how I relax, then all more power to you. If this is how you want to live your life, then you can say, no, I'm not going to eliminate it, or watch less. If that's the best way for you to relax, you're just going to say, maintain. Because I'm not saying that, because for some people, watching TV is the only way they can relax, and if that's what gets you relaxed, it's just, once again, you just need to make sure that it's not getting out of control. 10 hours a week 5 to 10 hours a week isn't bad, but if every time that you're not at work, or if every time you're not accomplishing something, like every time that you're not at work or doing something outside your normal routine, you're watching television, then you might have a problem, and you should get it checked out. So there you have it. That's what a one action audit looks like. Let's go over a few more, and then those ones will be a little more quicker, because now that we know how it works, we're going to go over 2 more. Next up, let's do a positive action audit. This one's going to be exercise. Now this one's near and dear to my heart, because I've been exercising 5 days a week for the last 8 years, and I try to do yoga 3 times a day, or not 3 times a day, 3 times a week on top of that. So this one's really dear to my heart. I mean, although some people could argue that it's a big waste of time, which we're going to go over in the cons, but this is one that I feel would be beneficial to you, and it's literally beneficial to a lot of people that I mentor and I coach and I work with. So let's go over the benefits or the pros of exercising each week. Well, and you can hear 5 times a week, you could put 3 times a week, you could put 2 times a week. Once again, it's going to be the opposite of the watching television. You don't want to start off at 5 times a week, because then you're going to get burnt out and you're never going to do it again. But if unlike the watching TV, you're going to do it 1 hour a week, 1 hour less a week instead. And another great way is, if you look at where you're at with the watching TV, that 1 hour a week that you're no longer watching TV, that could be an hour to work out. So you're simply eliminating one thing with another, and it's habit formation. So you're going to form a new habit out of an old habit. So exercise 5, 3 times, 2 times a week, whatever you're comfortable with. Pros, what are the pros of exercising? Well, 1, makes you feel good. Makes you healthy. Live long and happy life. And I don't know if you've ever talked to anyone who's overweight, or anyone that has weight problems. Usually they're not very happy people, because just with the chemicals in their brains and everything, being overweight, there's a lot of fat shaming and everything else in life. And the whole thing is, like, a lot of people, because of just what they eat, they feel guilty about what they eat, everything else. And I'm not trying to say that anything against any of all that. I'm just trying to say that these are the reasons that I exercise, but yours could be completely different. For me, exercising makes me feel good. It makes me healthy, and then it's led me to have a long and happy life. Like I've been pretty successful, and I always warrant that it's the habits that you form and the things that you do every day that keep you happy and keep you maintained. And exercise has always been something that's been there for me in the good times and bad. Exercise, it always was there for me, because if I had a bad day, I could go exercise. If I had a good day, I can go exercise. It didn't really matter. It's just a staple of what I like to do. But there's also cons of exercises. Number 1 is going to be injury. It depends on how you work out. You shouldn't work out as crazily as I did, because I've actually had a lot of injuries from working out, and it was really detrimental to my life. I've had lots of surgeries because of the way I worked out. So for the cons, 1 is going to be injury, but you should never have an injury unless if you get a personal trainer. Because I used to be a personal trainer. I used to train people for a living. You should never get injured. The only time you ever get injured is if that's the types of working out that you do. If you're doing the extreme stuff, like Olympic lifting, the extreme power lifting, if you get in the extreme bodybuilding, that's when you get the injuries. But if you're doing normal stuff, you should never get an injury. Number 2 is waste of time. I personally don't think exercise is a waste of time because of the health benefits, of all the benefits that you get out of it. But some people will argue that it is a waste of time, because you could, if you think about it, it's going to be that same 10 hours a week is going to be that same 10 hours a week to exercise every day or every week, because I usually spend about 2 hours every day working out. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I usually spend about 2 hours working out, which means that you could also argue that I'm wasting 10 hours a week to go work out. So it does take up a lot of time, and for a lot of people, they might not do it. And once again, you don't have to work out as much as I do. You could do just 5 hours a week, and that's still considered healthy. So technically you could work out for only 45 minutes a week and you'd still be good. For me, I like to work for 1.5 to 2 hours long, but that's just the way I like to do it. So for the cons, you have injury, you have a waste of time, and then what else is there? Oh yeah. This is the one that a lot of people is you're tired all the time. What will happen is like too many times, like if you work out like I do, you're always tired. By the time you hit Thursday, you're completely wasted. Your body's completely, like, it hurts to walk up the stairs, it hurts to walk down the stairs, it hurts to sit, it hurts not to sit, everything hurts. That's just the way I do it. And if you're doing cardio or some other exercise, you're going to be tired a lot of the time. But although that's a really bad negative, it's also really positive, because you need to have that stress, you need to have that tiredness, you need to, get that ability to have that. I mean, nobody wants to be, because if you don't work out, you have all this excess energy, and it feels good to burn all that excess energy. But if you don't burn that excess, but that's always been a con that a lot of people have told me, is like, well, I'm tired all the week. I'm always tired. And if you're tired all the time, it just means you need to figure out a balance between working out really hard, working out really soft. You just got to figure out your balance. But that's usually one of the biggest cons I've heard from people is, well, it hurts, it makes me tired, and I don't want to do it. But I always feel the pros outweigh the cons. But once again, this is all up to you. So in the proofs, well, how do you eliminate being tired? Well, if you're working out too much, then that's why you're going to be tired every day. So work out less or lighter. So if you're a bodybuilder or a power lifter, then you're going to be tired every day, all day. If you want to not be as tired, if you don't want to be as sore every day, you got to work out less or lighter. Another way you can improve this is to have supplements. Personally, I don't like any supplements at all. I think most supplements are bogus and they're a lie. The only one that I've ever used consistently was whey protein, and it wasn't even whey, it was pea protein or brown rice protein, basically one of those vegan types. And that's the only supplement I've ever used, and that's just for, getting protein to your muscle before lactic acid takes in. But really the best thing that I've found that, work out for the tired and the injury part, the thing that worked out the best for me was yoga. So if what you're doing is, let's say instead of working out 5 days a week, you work out 3 days a week, and then on the 2 off days you do yoga, that's going to greatly improve. You're not going to be as tired. You're not going to get any injuries. It's going to reduce a lot of the cons of exercising. So that way you're doing 5 days, so 3 hours a day. So 2 hours a day. So 2 hours. So 2 times a week you do yoga, and then 3 times a week you do exercise. And that way you've improved the cons, and you can continue moving on with the pros, and you can continue exercising. Or if you have a lot of time and you can't get in a workout, there's other ways to get workouts in, or just you can eliminate it to just for that week, and then you just get back into it the next week. That's a positive action audit. Okay, great. Now we just went over to personal audits. These are the things that you do in your normal day that you audit yourself. So exercise, once again, these are all personal. So the third example is going to be more using an action audit for something you're doing in business or professionally. This one's going to be, let's say you networking events or ads. Okay, so let's do networking. So this is a business-based one. So a lot of people don't like the network. They see it as a waste of time. Once again, the con, I'm just gonna get this one out of the way. Oh, I'm gonna get this con out of the way. Yeah, it's kind of funny. You can technically, waste of time can pretty much be a part of every single action audit you ever do. You can pretty much argue that everything you do in life is a waste of time. So that's why you really have to, focus on the pros and how to eliminate that waste of time, or how to make those pros or that action more efficient. So number one is cons, waste of time. So what are the pros of networking? Once again, you're going to write this down yourself for this action. So, one, it's going to help you get promoted. Two, it's going to help build connections. And also, it's going to forward your career. So networking can include anything. That can include going out to meetups. It can include if your coworkers want to go out and drink or do something. It can include your company's networking events or your events that your company hosts. It could pretty much be anything. It could be personal life. It could be outside of personal life. Essentially, networking can be anytime, anything. Can be anything at any time, any day. So, but usually it helps get you promoted, it helps build connections, and it helps forward your career. So what are the cons of networking? Once again, there's a waste of time. There's not really any guarantees that it's going to help you get promoted. There's no guarantees it's going to help you build connections. There's no guarantees that it's going to forward your career. But I'm going to tell you now that networking basically says 100% that you're not going to help that's not going to help you get promoted. It's not going to help you build connections. It's not going to forward your career. So number one is networking is going to help you no matter what, but whether or not the type of networking that you're doing, that's where the cons come into place. So let's say you go to company events. So if you go to a company event and, in your company, they've already established they don't like you, or you already know all the people who are going, and, there's no, direct benefits from, going to that company event, then there's no direct benefit of going to that company event. There's no reason for you to go if you already know everybody and you've already burned all those bridges, then you need to, not your company event, but you need to go to your competitor's event. So if you've burned all the bridges at your job or something, or you basically are going to something that none of your ideal clients are there, or pretty much if the people that are there can't help you help you get promoted, build your connections, or build your career, then there's really no reason for you to go. But then you could always argue, but if you're a small business owner or someone who does this, who sells stuff for a living, then it might be helpful. It doesn't matter where you go, it might be helpful. You can meet someone on the bus stop, and that's networking. And that person, might buy real estate. I've actually seen one guy, what he used to do is, the way he makes all his money is he visits a Starbucks in like Beverly Hills, where all the famous or all the rich people hang out, and he pretty much strikes up conversation with rich people he knows has money, and then he talks about everything except for what he does, and then eventually it pops up like, hey, so what do you do for a living? And then it'll be like, hey, I sell real estate, or I help people buy and sell and invest in real estate. And sure enough, after having that big old conversation, he ends up selling this guy into, hey, I can sell your house, or I can help you buy a house, or I can help you get a return on your investment or something. And that's basically what he does. So networking can be all that, but also cons, it's a waste of time. If you burned all those bridges, that's why it's a waste of time, because if there's no direct benefit of you going to that networking event, because you can't just go to everything. You have to pick and choose, based off of the success rate, or, its success rate, or how much it's going to help you get promoted, build your connections, or forward your career. So, company event, do competitors, it can be a waste of time. 2, drinking. Number 2, there might be lots of drinking, because I know a lot of networking events, they force you to drink, and some people don't want to drink, and that could be detrimental. So it could be a lot of drinking. It could be expensive. It could be expensive because if you're going out and networking events are really, really expensive, especially if what you're trying to accomplish, if you have to wine and dine all the people in these networking events, then get expensive quickly because, next thing you know, you're drinking, next thing you know, you're eating, next thing you know, you're eating, and next thing you know, you're drinking, next thing you know, you're eating, and next thing you know, you're drinking again. So the cons of networking is, if you burn all your bridges, it's a waste of time. Drinking, and it's expensive. You might have to drink alcohol because 99% of the networking, well, not 99, but a large percentage of the networking events that I attended or had to go to involve some sort of drinking alcohol. And that was just the nature of business. If you ever get into business, that's just the nature of it, is a lot of it is done through drinking. Because apparently you can't know your business partner until you got drunk with them. Don't ask me why that's a norm for business people, but it's a norm. So there you go. So the networking improves. You have to figure out a way to budget. So improves, you got to budget your networking, so you almost have to have like have money set aside each month to do networking, to pay for the drinking or whatever you're trying to accomplish. Another one is you need to create a formula for attending. So what does that mean? You're creating a formula for attending basically means that, let's say you have there's a million networking events, and out of those networking events, only 3 are actually useful for you, and you need to figure out how do you eliminate the other 900,000 events to find the 3 that are most going to be the most successful and the most effective for you, and you have to make a formula. So for what I used to do, because I look for small businesses who need internet marketing as well as copywriting, but then I also look for people who retired, middle-aged people who are looking to retire, and those I help buy rental properties or buy and holds. And because I know who my ideal client is, it's a lot easier for me to figure out what networking events I'm going to go to, because I know the people who are going to go to those events. I know the types of people that I know their income. I know that they want to retire. I know all the things I need to know to essentially help them, retire. And that's why when you do this, you have to figure out why you're networking. You need to know exactly who you're going to network to and what you're trying to accomplish. So you might actually need to create an action audit for how you're gonna. But the thing is the whole point of this is to figure out what you're doing in your daily life that's detrimental to your career, and then figure out what is helpful to your career. So some of the networking that you're doing, you might eliminate this. You might eliminate networking because it's not helping you, or you might just keep it on, or you might just eliminate some of them. You just need to figure out a way to improve it, to keep it inexpensive and help you out. So therefore, in conclusion, this is what a life audit looks like. After doing your 3 action audits, you now have a fully executed life audit, which is essentially 1, you looked at your TV watching, and you decided that you either eliminate it or need to reduce it. You decided that after doing all this, you're going to increase, or you're going to balance out your exercise routine, which essentially means like, hey, I'm going to exercise and increase this. I'm either going to, if I can't do it myself, I'm going to hire a personal trainer to do it, or I'm going to go to yoga classes, or I'm going to go to exercise classes. And that's where you can increase or balance it out. And then also you've created the habit of, oh, well, I have to go. If you don't have the motivation yourself, if you buy those things, you're now going to go because you're paying for them. So, and then number 3, networking. You decided that that it was, a lot of the cons was that it's expensive and that you're going to all the wrong ones. So to fix those problems, you're now going to budget each month. You're going to budget each month to have extra money to go to these networking events, but then you're also going to formulate a network, or you're going to formulate networks events, or you're going to formulate a plan of, well, what networks events are most likely going to give me the highest success of, building your career, or forwarding your career, building your connections, and helping you get promoted. So That way you can now make your networking effective. So that is what a life audit looks like. So each one of these is an action audit, and together they make one life audit. So you should do these every few months. You can do them every week if you want. I've seen some people who do them every day. They keep a day journal and they say, okay, well, I did this and I increased it by this much and I measured it, and they basically measure how effectively they're doing each new thing. So each week they'll be like, okay, so I eliminated 5 hours off of my TV watching. Exercise, I increased my exercise from no times a week to 4 times a week or 2 times a week. And then for networking, they say, okay, I saved $100 to go to budget for doing networking. So in that way, they can, they use that effectively to help them, ultimately be more successful at life rather than, going into a whirlwind of self-pity and self-destruction, which a lot of people, that's what happens is, they give up and they say, okay, well, I'm just going to binge watch Netflix for the next 4 hours or 40 years, and you realize, and then you get a midlife crisis. So use a life audit to avoid a midlife crisis. Thank you.